For years, I was worried that Fantasian would be lost to time, having been more or less exclusive to Apple Arcade since 2021, but thankfully this game has been given a second chance, a second life, after being recently released to PC and consoles. And as the Final Fantasy series and other games kind of stray further away from what made them great originally, will longtime JRPG fans be excited and delighted to finally get their hands on Fantasian, or is this just another letdown? So yes, in today's video, we're going to be discussing Fantasian. Is it a JRPG worth your time? Is it something that you're going to love? Well, let's find out. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already. There's my son's putting in paper plate. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts on the game. Are you interested in it? Are you playing it? I'd love to know. And I want to give a huge thank you and special shout out to Square Enix for sponsoring the video today by providing me with a review code to play on my Steam Deck. So with that out of the way, let's break down this game into a few sections. Now, before we start with the story, just a quick heads up, I'm only showing footage from the earlier portions of the game as to avoid major spoilers or plot points. There's a lot more to this game than what I'm showing you and telling you here, so let's go. Fantasian begins with Leo, the protagonist, waking up in a mysterious world after a catastrophic explosion. Suddenly suffering from memory loss, he embarks on a journey to uncover his past and the truth behind the strange mechanical infection plaguing the world. This infection, caused by machines overtaking organic life, threatens everybody's survival. And along the way, Leo encounters a diverse cast of characters, initially including Kina, a compassionate girl who helps him kind of get on his feet and get him going, and of course other allies with their own personal stakes in the world and the unfolding conflict. And as the story moves along, Fantasian delves into themes of free will, humanity, and the balance between technology and nature. The group faces challenges that test their resolve and force them to confront their inner struggles. And ultimately, the journey of Fantasian is not just about saving the world, but it's also about understanding what it means to live and connect with others in rapidly changing, uncertain realities. Kind of very fitting considering the time period that this game originally came out, don't you think? Now, if you're into the older Final Fantasy games, or even one of the more recent Hironobu Sakaguchi games, Lost Odyssey, you'll likely see a common thread here being memory loss. Memory loss seems to be at the core of character development in his games, and it's not necessarily a major plot point in Fantasian, but it does drive some of the earlier story beats, helping you uncover the past right alongside Leo and his friends. And another driver of the story are the visual novel-like cutscenes that will help fill the gaps and bring you up to speed on character backstories and events. And having just played Lost Odyssey for the first time a few months ago, I was quite happy to see something similar to the Thousand-Year Dream short stories present here within Fantasian. With the beautiful music that plays underneath, coupled with the voice acting present in the new version of the game, of course not just limited to these specific cutscenes, it's really a great way to continue moving the plot forward. In typical JRPG fashion, and this is what I love, Fantasian is a turn-based game. So if you're a JRPG vet, nothing will come to surprise you here. And if Fantasian just happens to be your very first turn-based game, I think you can play this game and be quite successful. Fantasian is really just the right kind of turn-based for me. Not a lot of flair, nothing overcomplicated, it's just perfectly balanced in my opinion. Your characters can attack or use items or magic, it's fairly standard stuff. Certain characters have certain attributes, like Leo is more of a physical attacker, Kina is more of the healer. Later on you'll meet up with Cheryl. She's pretty much a dragoon that can use some magic. And of course, the other characters that you meet along the way have their own unique abilities that can help change it up when it comes to battle strategies. It's really cool, and I really appreciate the simplicity of it, especially after playing a game like Metaphor ReFantasio just a few weeks ago. Now, what separates these battles from other JRPGs in terms of mechanics is how you control your attacks. Certain spells can be curved across the battlefield to hit multiple enemies, and some of your attacks can also pass through and strike multiple enemies. This makes going through battles a breeze and honestly really fun, purely because it's different. And plus, if you manage to position your attacks carefully enough, you might just be able to finish those boss battles a little quicker than you originally thought. And to add on to that is the standout feature of Fantasian, which is the Dimension, allowing players to defer random encounters by storing enemies in a separate dimension device. These stored enemies can be battled all at once at a later time, giving you strategic flexibility and reducing the frequency of interruptions during exploration. So once you hit up to 30 enemies stored, you'll have to fight through them all. But honestly, this is really fun. I love stockpiling enemies and then doing these huge fights. Using the curved attacks with the double hit melee attacks makes short work of these fights. And plus you get XP in bulk, which is really fun. Although I would suggest maybe just pace yourself and check your gear and your stats before you take on these 30 enemy fights, because you might just end up doing so right before a boss and unfortunately come up with a loss as a result of not being prepared. Now, hang on, before we go any further, did you guys know that only 8% of the people that watch my channel on the regular are subscribed? So if you love weekly JRPG content, I would love to have you here. And if you want to support the channel even more, don't forget you can join the channel by getting channel memberships, getting access to cool badges and emotes as well. It's pretty cool. There's lots there, so don't forget to check that out. So anyway, let's move on to the visuals of the game. I have a lot to say about these. The visuals of Fantasian are absolutely delightful and one of the most striking features, thanks to its use of handcrafted dioramas as the foundation for its environments. Over 150 physical miniatures were meticulously created by a team of Japanese artists, including veterans from film and anime industries who worked on iconic properties like Godzilla and Ultraman. These dioramas were designed, sculpted, and painted in the real world and then digitized into the game to serve as backdrops for the characters and the gameplay. The dioramas cover a wide variety of settings, from lush forests to serene towns to mechanical, otherworldly realms. Each piece is filled with intricate details, like tiny furniture in houses or machinery covered in rust, creating a rich and immersive world. The blending of these static diorama backdrops with the dynamic 3D characters and effects gives the game a unique, almost storybook-like quality. The result is a visually stunning experience that bridges traditional craftsmanship with modern technology, making the world of Fantasian feel truly alive and distinct from other JRPGs. It's so incredibly interesting playing through this game with this specific look. I'm sharing a few photos of the dioramas here for you guys to check out while I speak. It's honestly very well detailed, and when you're playing the game, when you're actually in the game, it just has this unique charm to it that honestly really haven't felt since I played a JRPG on the PlayStation 1 with pre-rendered backgrounds. It's on that same level for me. And while we're speaking of visuals, I'm happy to say that this game performs incredibly well on the Steam Deck. Super smooth, 60 frames per second with very minimal stutters. I mean, I played this game back on my iPhone 12 mini back in 2021 when it was out on the Apple Arcade, and it was totally fine for me then, so I would honestly expect nothing less here. Now, I can't talk about this game and not mention music. The music of Fantasian is composed by the legendary Nobuo Uematsu, best known for his work with the Final Fantasy series. It stands as one of his most emotional and ambitious projects yet, featuring an amazing soundtrack that captures the heart of the game's story and world. Uematsu has described the music as deeply personal as he poured his creative energy into this project, knowing that this might be one of his final major contributions to the gaming world, and by major he means like an entire soundtrack, not just one-off songs. The soundtrack features a variety of musical styles, from sweeping orchestral themes to intimate piano melodies. Each piece is crafted to evoke specific emotions and complement the handcrafted diorama visuals. Memorable tracks like the heartfelt Kina's theme and the intense battle music bring depth and atmosphere to the game's narrative and gameplay. And even the boss theme, which clearly borrows the first few lines of the Man with the Machine Gun melody from Final Fantasy VIII. It's so good. I love it. And if we want to get more specific, some of the music or the atmospheric sounds from the machine world allows him to maybe revisit some similar ideas of the Magitech research facility from Final Fantasy VI, with some of the more mechanical sounds driving the bulk of those arrangements. So Uematsu's use of recurring motifs and character-specific themes and all these other arrangements really ties this whole experience together, making the soundtrack not just an accompaniment, but a more integral part of Fantasian's storytelling. This is easily a standout feature for me. Now let's get to the question here that we're asking in the video today. Is Fantasian worth it? Should you buy this game? Look, this is a game that I was hoping for ages that would be ported to modern consoles. I've been worried for a long time that this game would just be stranded on Apple devices. And why this game was specific to Apple devices to begin with, I have absolutely no idea. And at this point, I don't care anymore because we finally have it in our hands. Anybody who likes old school Final Fantasies or old school JRPGs should be playing this. This to me is JRPG comfort food. Everything about this game just hits every box for me. Everything about this game is perfect, except for maybe just one or two things, which I'll elaborate on now. When you're exploring the world, of course, you got to make sure to look everywhere. Find chests, items, it's all great. And you have to look everywhere because of these perspective shifts with the camera. And I suppose this might be an issue because of how these environments were digitized and put into the game. I think they probably took a bunch of photos of these environments and just kind of pieced them together and blended them in with these different camera angles. But when you have these perspective changes, the way that you're controlling Leo continues with the perspective change, leading you to walk on a funny angle when you go from area to area or, piece of the map to another piece of the map. Surely this has to do with how the dioramas are put together. I don't really remember having this issue when playing on Apple Arcade, which I did actually play with a controller. That's just a nitpick, so yeah, you'll get used to that. And one other thing that really bothers me is when you're playing games on Steam, and for example, when you're playing with a PlayStation controller, some of the buttons don't actually match the layout of the controller that you're using. So hopefully that gets patched later on. I do appreciate when these games actually do acknowledge you're using a PlayStation controller or something else. That's great, but you know, I've been making do as is with the controller layout. But overall, I mean, funny as it is to say, this definitely feels like a Mistwalker game, having played a few of them already now. I would say, honestly, this is kind of the definitive Mistwalker game, and I'm so glad that Square has agreed to help publish this game and get this game on modern consoles for the masses to play. This game is well worth your time, well worth your money. There's not a lot of depth in terms of story, but I think it just hits all those broad stroke moments really well. The characters are lovable, the music is great, the visuals are absolutely gorgeous. To me, this is a must-buy game. So that's it for Fantasian. It is a beautiful JRPG that is definitely worth your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Join the channel as well if you want to support the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you again on the next video. Thanks for watching.